Hey guys, so I live in the Appalachian Mountains and it's May here, and I've been finding patches of Soloman seal all over our property. So I'm going to take you guys for a walk with me and show you what it looks like and how to ID it and how to dig it up and make sure that it's true Solomon's seal and not false Soloman seal. So here's a patch I've stumbled upon. Like I mentioned, it's May here, so right now we're just getting the buds. One way to really make sure that this is Solomon's seal, not false Solomon's seal, is the location of the buds. So as you can see here, how they're hanging down just above the leaf off of the stem in pairs. And you can also see just the overall shape. Something that might be able to call you to it is that it comes up and just kind of arches and droops over. So whenever it flowers, tiny white flowers, they'll all be hanging underneath. If this was false Solomon's seal, then you wouldn't see these buds underneath here, because the false Solomon's seal all bloom basically at the end, terminal flowers. So, and it would be like a big cluster right on the end. You wouldn't have this underneath. If you look closely, you can see that each one of the leaves kind of clasp onto the stem. There is no stalk in between the leaf and the stem. For instance, if you know what poison ivy looks like, it has this long stalk that comes off of the stem and then the leaf. But this clasps directly to the stem. And it's all very smooth. The ground is very damp. There's a bunch of leaves here, and I'm also noticing a lot of mycelium. This is white fuzz in here. That's the beginning of mushrooms. So that can kind of indicate some of the areas that it likes to grow in. Obviously it's going to be moist, damp, usually shady or partial shade, but not typically ever full sun, and it's going to be in a wooded area. Solomon's seal technically doesn't have a root. It has a rhizome, which is basically like an underground stem. So we don't want to just dig this up. What we want to try to do is find the rhizomes underneath. And they're normally pretty shallow. As long as your ground's not super compact, you might be able just to dig it up with your fingers, which is what I'm going to try here. You want to be gentle because... Oh, there you can start to see it. It's rhizome. But yeah, you want to be gentle so that way you don't damage the roots. Now typically people usually harvest this during fall, after the flowers have bloomed and the berries have dropped. But just for this video's purpose, I'm going to go ahead and show you how that would be done. And once fall, this will the stalk will start to yellow, and you'll notice that it has purplish berries on it. Okay, so you can see me digging here. It's the stem of the plant, and the rhizome is going in this direction. Okay, so as you can see, I've reached the end. This is where it has sprouted up now, and if you trace it, you can go all along down to here where it stops. Just kind of, you only want to pull up like a portion of it because he's currently growing, and each one of these knots is like a year's worth of growth, so that you can pretty much estimate how old this plant is. And so basically it started from here, and then 1 year, and then the next year, and then the year after that, and it keeps going. So you don't want to take anything that's close to where it's currently growing. That could potentially damage the roots for the next year. And certainly if you take what's underneath the current plant, you're not going to have one that comes back next year. So you're just going to kind of eradicate their population. So we don't want to do that. But if we just take a part off of the end, where I've snapped this piece off here, another one will grow. So if you do it in this way, actually more will grow. I would recommend I'd recommend checking into videos by Jim McDonald. Maybe I can find a link and post some below. He has a lot of good information on the sustainability about this plant and different preparations and uses, and it's a fantastic resource. I started to cover this back up already, but when we're looking at the roots here, one way that you can tell that it is not false Soloman seal is this little round, what they would call a seal. It looks like a round seal, which is where the plant came up last year. And it's more creamy white in color than false Soloman seal would be more yellow. And make sure you cover it back up, that way he's nice and moist, and no roots get damaged. So this individual plant is a bit larger than the rest. So I've started uncovering his rhizomes. I'm going to be very careful not to disturb any other plants growing nearby. And look right there, you can already see the seal right there. Here's another patch I found. I'm going to go ahead and move this rock over. Oh, look at that. So this was pretty cool. This was just growing underneath the rock. And you can see its entire rhizome.